That turns my head. We're still having fun, and you're still the one. I look at your face every day.
Welcome back to our daily show. 10:31, that's the time in downtown Alton on this 19th day of April. We got Sebastian Joe on Zoom now getting ready to join me, Picture in Picture. This is really exciting. A brand new Tom Sawyer book. Let's go over to Zoom now. How are we doing today, Sebastian? Good to see you.
Hey, CJ. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man. So fill me in on this. How did the idea come about? This is really exciting.
Yeah, so, I mean, like a lot of kids my age grew up reading more modern things like probably Harry Potter or other things, but I was attracted to the more classic novels of literature and older books. Like I grew up reading like the Hardy Boys, anything by like Beverly Cleary, like old school, like stuff from the 50s and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember I got a couple versions of Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn when I was about 10 years old. I fell in love with the story. I had read sections here and there of it, but never the whole thing all at once. Then when I was 13, what drove me was I didn't like where the story ended initially. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun if Tom and his friends just grew up a little bit more? Because in the book, they're supposed to be about maybe 11 or 12. In my initial novel, I made them about 17, 16 years old on the brink of young adulthood. And I wanted to write it in the style I thought that followed Mark Twain's template for the character and just made a fun, loving, mischievous, but good-hearted character that I think audiences will still fall in love with. I mean, he's still Tom Sawyer, just maybe a little more grown up, and he's about to take on a brand new adventure and learn some amazing life lessons along the way too.
Well, and on top of this all, I really think the coolest part of this is the the severity of the piece, because so many people connect with Tom Sawyer. Everyone, that's we grew up in school and we're, at least reading the book at least once as a class or on our own. There's definitely some definitely some pride in this for you. How important was it for you to make sure that, number one, you kept the story of the premise of the original Tom Sawyer character alive, but also took it on a new path, because that's definitely tough.
Good question. So I would say that I know the story of Tom Sawyer probably better than any other book I have in my current possession right now or that I've read before. That being said, I know that I'm taking on the mantle of a very, very important American author, and I wanted to make sure I treat his characters with respect, because not all of the characters are my own. I have some original new ones in there, but I am using the legacy of another author. So I wanted to make sure that I remember that going through, I've taken about 16 years from the time I was 13 when I started writing this to the now when it's been published. So I've had plenty of time to make sure that all of the characters' time continuities line up, that everyone is approximately the right age, that technology is available at the time line up in terms of just realism, and making sure that everything, because with Tom Sawyer, you have to walk the line between fiction and realism. You have to find that right balance. And I think I did that with my characters and with the story. I've presented it to numerous people just to get their take on it, because after editing it probably dozens of times myself, I've kind of grown sick of reading my own story.
I bet. Not to cut you off there, but that's what I was ready to jump on, because whenever you said that, from 13 until now, the odyssey that it's been for you on this journey, I could only imagine all the memories and all the flashbacks you get, as you're finishing this book, it's published. Do you go back to 13-year-old Sebastian, whenever you're thinking about this book, because of how long that odyssey's been for you?
As a matter of fact, I have, yeah. Before I started writing this book when I had access to a computer at the time, I actually started writing the novel by hand in just from an office supply store.
Oh,
in fact, wow. I have it with me if you want to check it out.
Yeah, please show it. That is incredible.
This is what it used to be.
I love it, man.
I co-wrote this with my sister when I was 13. Eventually, she stopped writing it with me about a year later when she got bored, and I took over the whole project. but it went from that to that.
Oh my gosh. Well, and as a fan, have you had a chat with your sister when you showed her the cover of it? Like, man, you could have been in here for the long haul, you know?
You know, I don't fault her for dropping off the project. I mean, she has her own life to lead. I'm
Right.
happy for where her life ended up, and I'm glad that I got to write at least the part I did with her when I did.
Yeah.
But no, I don't blame her. I made sure that she was up to date on the project, how it was coming along. I even gave her she was one of the first ones to get a copy when they came out to me in print.
That's so cool. And Sebastian, let's talk about the premise of this piece, because I know folks at home, my text line is literally like singeing right now because I'm not asking the obvious question. And that's the overview of the story. Take me through what we can experience when we open up this great novel, Tom Sawyer and the Treasure of the Dark Mystery.
Sure. So I wrote my book with the premise that not everyone who's reading it read the original novels first. Like I'm one of those people that follows like a trilogy from beginning to end. I can't start in the middle anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote my book in such a way that even if you haven't read it, you will be caught up to the continuity of Mark Twain's world of Tom Sawyer anyway. There's enough anecdotes in there to fill in the blanks along the way to some of the major events from the original books. But basically, the premise of Tom Sawyer and the Treasure of the Dark Mystery is that Tom and his friends are getting older. They're on the brink of young adulthood, and it's the start of summer vacation for them in school. So they're out and about. They don't have much adult supervision because they're older and they have more freedoms. But they basically want to learn about where the treasure from the original novel came from, the treasure that they found in McDougal's cave. This is where they pulled out about $12,000 worth of gold coins.
Yep.
And they brought it to the town. They ended up leaving the chest in the cave because it was too heavy for them to carry out. And through a little bit of discussing, they began to wonder where the coins actually came from. So after going back to retrieve the chest, they learned that the coins had actually been property of a legendary pirate called Redbeard.
Nice.
And from there, after doing some Saturday chores in Aunt Polly's garden, they come across part of a treasure map that looks like it would lead to Redbeard's treasure somewhere along the way. And then
I don't want to cut you off, but I mean, just hearing some of that is so great for readers, you know, young and old, because for, you know, someone that's grown up already reading the book, you know, and I know that you wrote this for someone who didn't have to read that first one, but even for folks that do know a little bit about it, to see those really cool and unique tie-ins, that's awesome. And for young readers, talk about no better way to get someone engaged than talking about Redbeard in a Tom Sawyer book. That is really cool.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. Yeah, I wanted to. The story evolved a lot the more I worked on it. I probably finished the first version of it when I was maybe 18 or 19, but I didn't like where it ended because it was still kind of walking the boundary between realism and fantasy.
Yeah.
So I came up with some brand new plot points. I realized that like some of my writing style was very unprofessional, so I tried to make it look like an actual book that you would get at a bookstore in terms of quality and content. I actually brought the book back to my old high school English literature teacher back when she taught me for about 5 years from junior high to high school. I got to show her the first rough draft of it, and she offered her points. And then it was a long journey after that of getting a professional editor, working with an illustrator, because that book actually has about 30 full shaded illustrations, including the full colored front and back of the book too.
Right. Well, and you know, I was reading on the email a couple of days ago at the press release, and I saw that you even were so focused on making sure that the continuity was there that you made sure that weather patterns held up the same in this. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So part of everything from technology to, I wanted to make sure the weather patterns lined up. I originally had it in the book that they encountered a hurricane, even though because I learned that Missouri apparently can get remnants of hurricanes, but not likely the entire thing. So I changed it to a thunderstorm with maybe some flash flooding. And then I also tried local vegetation and plant life for Missouri would be accurate too. Find out which plants grew in Missouri, whereabouts, because I originally had a couple of scenes with palm trees in there, and then I realized this isn't the tropics. We can't do that. So I got some advice about what was realistic for the local area, and I went from there.
We have a text question. I normally don't ask these during a live show. I just kind of let them ding. But this is interesting. Did you have a favorite character of the book, the initial?
The way I see it, all of Mark Twain's characters are pretty amazing. They all have great backstories. In fact, part of writing the book for me, I actually gave more page time to some of the lesser discussed characters of the book, like Sid, Aunt Polly, maybe a little bit more of Judge Thatcher.
Yeah.
But I would say favorites. It's really hard to beat Tom. He's the ringleader. He's pretty amazing. But I also kind of have a soft spot for Huckleberry Finn too.
Same here. And thank you from the 6-1. I normally don't ask text questions during the show, but that was an interesting one I figured I'd throw out there and show some love to the text line. And Sebastian, getting back to something you hit on earlier that I think's really cool about this, because even though the story's amazing and I've gotten a chance to read through some of it already, I'm not all the way finished yet, but I'm almost there. What I think's so cool about this is the story of the story. You know, where you're going back and talking to your high school English teacher to kind of proofread this, and then you take it up the ladder and you keep working the way up. It's such a testament, too, for me, for any young author, maybe anyone that's not even into writing, but just how to follow through your project to the end, you know, start to finish. This is years in the making. What's your message for somebody that's a young author out there, or maybe just a young individual in the arts and entertainment section of society? What's your message to kind of keep pushing through and persevering?
So I would say one of the best things you can do as an artist or a writer is try to find the right balance between practicality and your dreams, ultimately, because some dreams are harder to achieve than others. When it comes to realism, there may be times when you have to invest years of your life. I mean, just front to end for this project, it's been 16 years, and that's been because of a lot of things, including things like losing the desire to write, writer's block, interest in other projects at the time. I mean, Tom Sawyer isn't the first book that I've tried to write. I've actually been kind of working on some other projects like detective stories, murder mysteries, and even a teenage spy novel too.
Oh,
That's
really
kind of
cool.
But I would say find something that you enjoy doing, because if you don't enjoy it, you won't have any drive to do it. When I was in high school doing all these school projects for my high school English teacher, I wasn't writing books as part of my regular school curriculum. I mean, I was writing papers about certain theories or prompts, but I wasn't enjoying it so much. If once you put me in front of a computer writing a story from my own heart, that's where the drive really kicks in. So find something that you like to write about, and don't be afraid to reach out for advice or wisdom from people who have a more experience in one area than you may have. I mean, this project was the work of many, many people. I couldn't be where I am today without my my high school English teacher, my editor. My uncle is actually a professional author who gave me lots of tips for
Really
writing.
cool.
He'd done this before, so he guided me and shepherded me along the way.
That's so cool, man, and that's what I think's amazing about this story. And getting back to the overall book itself, can folks purchase this today?
Yeah, so the book itself is available for purchase on most major retailers. So places like authorhouse.com is the home place where you can buy it. You can get it on Barnes & Noble, everend.com, Google Reads, iBooks. And if you type the name of the book into like a search engine, you're probably going to find my book title in the top 12 results, I would guess. But I also have it scheduled to eventually be released physically in stores very, very soon. I've made sure that that was available. And also there are ebook versions of the story if you want to read it on a tablet or other device that you have.
Really cool. And now for maybe, and I don't know if you have the answer to this question. I know that there's so much of a team here with this project. If a teacher or a school district's interested in this area going, you know, it would be really cool if we could get our hands on some sequels of to the initial Tom Sawyer's novel and bring them into our district. Do you guys have a way yet to do kind of larger scale orders?
That is a very, very good. So, here's the thing. So I am not Mark Twain.
Right.
I can't write like him. I
Right.
don't have that kind of classic literary writing style. I think I write good, but I just don't write to the level that Mark Twain does. If some school wanted to use my book for reading, I think there's a lot of great lessons and great writing behind it if they want to. Absolutely, they could order it in any way they want to. One of the options that we were considering was doing a mass distribution to libraries.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of wondering about too, because I thought, Sebastian, you aren't Mark Twain, but who is, But I thought, and you never know who the next, what the next book is that really grabs hold of a generation, and you never know. So anytime we have a chance to kind of plug that for our local school districts and any libraries that we partner with here on the platform, we love to give those opportunities out. And what was your favorite part of the process here? Was it the years of writing and revisions and getting things together? Was it the distribution of this piece? Is it the announcement of it for you? What's the cherry on top of this odyssey?
I would say all of the above, but something I'm very, very proud of is that when I was younger, my mom and my dad used to read a lot of books to me and my sister when we were younger, doing all kinds of voices and trying to immerse us in the world of whatever book we were reading. I'm currently getting to read the book to them myself right now as a brand new author, coming up with my own character voices and ways. I'm including things like soundtracks and sound effects for the scenes I'm reading while I'm doing the actual reading itself. So I'm trying to create almost like an audiobook setting.
Really
And
cool.
yeah, it was just a really, really fun time getting to give back to them after all the years they've given back to me.
That's really cool, man. Hey, where are you located at? It looks sunny over where you're at. I'm in a basement over here. Are you in Los Angeles?
I am in Los Angeles. I'm in Torrance, California right now. It is a little cloudy outside. I'm not sure where you're seeing sun coming from.
Oh, behind you in the shades. That's what I was looking. Sorry.
Okay.
But no, I was just curious because we, at our daily show, we love to talk to national guests too, and anyone outside of our area to bring some awareness to all the great things going on throughout the country. And if we can get a few folks to purchase a copy of the book today, man, that's all I'm asking for the audience. And now, what's your final message for folks that want to learn more about the book? Do you have any more coming down the pipeline you can fill us in on?
You mean more
books? Yeah.
Trying to release in the future?
Yeah.
So, I think I mentioned before that some of the projects I'm hoping to work on somewhere down the road are a teenage spy novel. I was always a big fan of. Right. I grew up reading, just for example, the Alex Rider series by Anthony Horowitz. I grew up with that book. It was about a teenage spy who joins MI6 for special undercover missions and stuff. I wanted to write a book similar to that, so I started coming up with my own book. It's not fully finished right now because most of my work and effort was focused on Tom Sawyer at the time, but it's just a working title right now. It was what we call it's a book called Spy Guy, I think.
Nice.
So it's a group of teenage spies who come from nowhere, but they have some pretty unique skills they can offer to intelligence agencies to help bring down world threats and other things. I've also got I'm writing a detective story set in the 1970s.
Oh, cool.
And I'm also working on a murder mystery. It's what we call it's called the Assassin of Mako Island.
I like the name. The name sold me already, man. Well, I got to tell you this just because you're into the murder mystery and novels too. I was doing young authors, and I thought, man, I'm going to be the next Lemony Snicket at 11 years old. And I had to have wrote the most, ridiculously unique murder mystery novel as an 11-year-old. And I still think my teachers at the time have not looked at me the same since, Sebastian.
You know what, CJ? Where you are at 11 is probably different than where you are right now.
That's a good point.
I would imagine if you picked those books back up, what you wrote, and you looked at it with a fresh set of eyes, I bet you could come up with some pretty amazing stuff. You seem very ingenious.
Thanks. You know what? That's really cool of you to say. Thank you very much. And I've just appreciated talking with you about this. It's such a cool story. The story of making the novel, but also the novel itself with the synopsis and what I've read so far. It's really good, Sebastian. And anytime you want to come back on, fill in the St. Louis area with all the cool stuff you're doing, you're more than welcome to. And thank you so much for your time today in downtown Alton.
Thank you so much. I only wish I could actually be there in person with you. I'd love to meet you.
Absolutely. We'll have to set it up. Whenever we have a time, we'll definitely try to see if we can get you down in the Alton area and have some fun.
Sounds like fun.
Awesome. 10:51. That's the time here in downtown Alton. We'll take a quick break.